Regina has been in the media for quite a long time. KBC has always been the mother station, and like many of the big guns in the media industry, Regina started her journey into the media world right here at Broadcast House, where she hosted one of the most memorable talk shows of broadcasting times.
Welcome back. Welcome back. All right, we're going to start with the ladies who are doing really well. Come on over here, Susan. Give the wheel a nice spin. This time you answer all by your lonesome. Of course, you do get to talk to your friends about the bet you will place on whichever category you land. Kenya, in this case, place your bet and bear your score in mind.
400.
400. So for 400 shillings, please tell me, how many MPs will represent Kenya in the East African Assembly? I'll ask the question again. How many MPs will represent Kenya in the East African Assembly?
She has been in the media in many capacities as a show host, an actress, and has also starred in some TV ads. On top of all these, she is a thespian of repute. Apart from her media presence, she is also the founder and team leader of Kahawa Hour Network. She does educational videos on various topics, and she seems to be born to serve in the media.
You've often heard it said, especially in the African context, a woman must be able to cook. But what happens when a man marries a woman who can't cook?
A woman who doesn't know how to cook must not get married.
Which century are you still living in?
21st century.
This is the 21st century.
I mean,
just because our mothers and our grandmothers cooked.
Does it change our values?
No, I'm not.
Is truly the lady who was called to be on TV.
Thank you very much for joining us. You're watching Expressions and I'm your host, Esther Neema. And as usual, we focus on the lives of fascinating women, women who have made impact in society, women who have touched our lives, women who have caused us to stay glued to our television sets, women who have just done immense things in society. And today we have one of those ladies right here. She's been in so many advertisements. She has been on your screen and in many, one of the most popular shows, actually, you were hosting it, that made us all sit on our TV sets, and you know. And today we have her right here in Expressions. And yeah, nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining us, Regina Ray.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's nice to be here.
It's nice to be here. And it's really nice to have you as well. Tell us now, you're now in changes. You're now doing personal development. You're a personal development coach and trainer. You're still a performing and creative arts personnel. Tell us about your journey, like how you started from, you know, until today.
How much time do you have?
So much.
Journey, oh my
A whole
Lord.
hour. Tell us about your journey until today.
In a nutshell, as you just mentioned, I'll just recap it. I define myself as in a rebrand as a personal development coach and trainer, and I continue to be a performing and creative artist. I have been a performing and creative artist ever since, you know the song by ABBA, Mama says I was a dancer before I could walk.
Oh yeah.
She says I could sing.
You're one of those babies
long
who were...
before I could talk. I think I was one of those.
Yeah.
So where I started, I started when I was a kid.
Oh, you
when
started when you were a kid.
I was in a school that really highlighted being on stage, whether in music class or hymns or plays, musicals, all that sort of stuff was really emphasized, as well as academia in primary and high school. So I was always on a stage somewhere, and even to this day, if I see a stage and a mic, I grab it.
Okay. So you can't put a finger to say, okay,
so I
you know what?
can't put a finger to my performance. I've always been, and I believe, and I tell people, until I'm 6 feet under, I'll always be performing in one way, shape, or form. But just to give some highlight to those who may not know, I've been doing performance by way of, let's say, you've just mentioned commercials.
Yeah.
I've done a myriad of commercials, TV commercials,
Yes.
radio commercials. I have done theater. In fact, I come from a theater background because when we were in school,
Yeah.
we were doing musicals and stage productions. So I really got my confidence on stage from performing, from being on a live stage. And growing up and continuing even through college and out of college, I was in musicals and cabaret shows, doing live performances. And I particularly like musicals. Some may or may not know that I'm a vocalist.
Yeah.
And I lean toward more of show tunes and the oldies, jazz, and that type of music. But I can sing a range. I
You can
do
sing a range.
What else? I transitioned into film by way of TV shows and big screen and small screen. When I was in the States, I was studying, and I did, as well as the commercial work, I had an opportunity to audition for documentaries, especially what they call training videos there. A lot of training videos for film. And auditioned for a couple of movies. But it's only when I came here, I think the only movie I did there, what was this one called? I can't remember. It starred Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker was in that one.
Oh, really?
Blown Away. And it was in Boston, and we auditioned for that. Of course, I was an extra, but you know, you learn a lot when you're an extra.
Yes,
on
you
the set.
learn
a
so
lot
much more. Yes.
about just being on a film set and stuff like that. But even before being in Blown Away, when I was a child, I think because my folks were so exposed in the ways of TV life and film and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I did commercials even as a child. And
So you are one of those kids who started really,
back in the
really-
day. Okay, there were
yeah.
not that many, but we did some, and of course my folks were the ones who were responsible for taking us out to that. But my very first film that I remember I was in, even though it was as an extra, was Sheena, Queen
Yeah?
of the Jungle. I don't know if you've ever heard of Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. So that was a feature film. And so when I say my performance life started a long time ago,
It's
really,
actually
really
forever. And I think
It
that's
really
what
did.
we really know you for. Like all, we've just been seeing you on screen,
Yeah.
and we know you for that. And now there's this whole new personal development coach, which is now your current journey, together with performing arts as well.
Yes. I've always had a love and a passion for sharing what I know.
Yeah.
I call it sharing what I know. I've only just recently decided, for branding purposes and putting it on a card for definition, I decided to package myself as a personal development coach and trainer. But even leading to personal development coach and trainer didn't just start there. I like to share what I know. So if I'm sitting with you for any length of time and you ask me, oh, how do you do this? How do you do a flower arrangement? How do you bake a cake? How do you play some notes on piano?
Yeah.
I'll be so open and willing to share with you. I just have a passion for that. And so I remember even when I was learning piano in primary school, somebody would ask me, well, how do you play this song? And I would be so happy to show them.
To show them.
Teach little
I
fingers
think
to
in the
play.
next segment, you're going to show us, a few things. I could do with a
Possibly.
lot of lessons.
Possibly.
Yes, yes.
And so because I come from a performing arts background, which is not just film, there was also some element of runway modeling, hair
yeah.
modeling, commercial modeling. That's what it was called back in the States. So having done all that and appreciated what it's like to be on a stage in a runway situation, I decided, let me couple what I know with what I've been doing, sharing with what I know. So I started teaching. And so I went to John Casablanca Modeling and Career Center and learned the ins and outs of what it takes really to be a model. But having said that, even when I went, I had already been doing it for so
you
long,
already
all through
knew
my
it's
college life. So it was more of a formality
Yeah.
to get a certificate saying, okay, I went to study. And then after that, I realized that's where I learned in modeling and career development that it was not just about walking on a runway. The training that we went through had to do with image and etiquette and how to put on makeup and how to market yourself as an artist.
I know.
And
I think
vocal
that's, yeah.
production and stuff like that. So it encompassed so much, even though it was called modeling and career. And so after taking that certificate course, I went to another school called Barbizon, Modeling and Career Development Center, to train on how to be a teacher in the same.
Oh, okay.
And so I learned how to be a
that's-
teacher. And all of this is after I got my bachelor's. You know, I studied mass communications.
Oh, you start, yeah.
So this is all on the side.
it's all
It's all like after I got my degree, and
Yeah.
I'm still interested in the arts and performing. So I went
yeah.
and got a certificate in teacher training. And then after I got that, I went back to John Casablanca and I taught there. So the upcoming artists and actors and models and stuff like that. So I had my hands
On
quite
almost
firmly placed in that
every
area. How do you
area.
market
Yeah.
yourself? Vocal production and all these things as an artist. And so coming back to Kenya in the late 90s, I quite naturally looked for a place where I could at least practice my skills, not only as an artist, but also as a trainer. So I've been a trainer, coach, and a performing artist. I've journeyed simultaneously.
And
but
at
not
least
many
because
people
they are
have known
very
that.
related, they are
Very
marrying
related,
into
yeah.
each other, so you don't feel like you're going
Yes.
too out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a learning curve, and I realized that things are very different in the art world here
It
than
is,
they
yeah.
are in the States, which is where I started my professional performing journey.
What is the main difference? What would you say would be the main difference?
One of the main differences is that when you shoot a commercial or a film or do anything, whether it's on stage in the West, and they say, we are going to pay you in 90 days.
It will come in
91 days will not come before you get paid. If they say it's 30 days, it's 30 days.
In Kenya, it
there's
could be a year.
There's no if and but or maybe about that. That was the big blow and lesson that I learned about the way things are done here. Here, you shoot a commercial, people will choose to pay you or not. Even if they say they'll pay you, they don't. Even if they say come back, they don't mean it. Over there, what they say they mean, and so there's a lot of integrity in the field.
integrity.
I branded myself to image consultant for a bit, and then this show called Tusker Project Fame came along.
Yes.
And as an artist, you go and audition for whatever they're calling you for. And I went and auditioned as the host.
Uh-huh.
But because I had this extra skill of training and teaching,
Oh, you said,
I
can
auditioned as a
train.
coach and a trainer. And of course, we all know where that went. I wound up being the trainer. And they were calling me the performance coach of
Yeah.
this was, I think it was 2 months. It was like 14 weeks of training these artists. For those who don't know, Tusker Project Fame is a reality TV show, that puts a bunch of young hopefuls into an academy where they learn how to perfect their skills in singing and presentation. And so there were other coaches, the vocal coach and this coach and, you know, the exercise trainer, but I was their performance coach. That's what the people from South Africa, they said, okay, you got the part. So I said, so what am I?
You're like,
so you're the
yay.
performance coach. I said, oh, okay. So I decided now to adapt that name
into now a
onto
performance.
my rebrand because it was up my alley. So I rebranded to image consultant and performance coach.
And I think it must be beautiful to just see people come timid to you the first time they're coming. They're so timid, they don't know how to behave, they don't know how to perform. And at the end of the day, you're just seeing them flourish.
And then I do derive a great deal of joy from that. And then in the recent past, I took a course because I wanted to up the ante and get my skills going. So I took a course in counseling psychology and another course in trainer, how to train. And I decided then, because I'll be using counseling skills and that have to do with the mind and the heart and what is going on from within, I decided then image consultant to me now was too limiting.
Yeah.
And so then I rebranded again now, more
Into a
recently,
personal.
to what we call personal development coach and trainer. And I've added now the creative and performing artist, because besides performing and teaching, I also use my hands a lot.
Oh,
I write.
you're a very
I
hands-on
like being
person.
in the kitchen. I like being in the garden. I like doing a lot of things with my hands. And so I decided, let me put creative on there, and as part of who I be, because life is about being. After all, we're called human beings,
and
right?
it's what you're pouring out. Anyway,
So that's it in a nutshell.
You do quite a lot. I don't think we can put it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
However, I think I like what you're saying, personal development coach, because it's not just about image, it's
Yeah.
about your whole being as an individual.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
not about your
How-
visual
it's
image.
what you are on the inside.
It's also your inner image.
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And I think that's what everyone
Yeah.
is working on. We are going to. I think you're going to take me through some training in the next.
Depending on what you want done.
Yeah, in the next segment. But right now, let's just go for a short break. You have been watching Expressions, and we're with the beauty. We are together with the fascinating and beautiful, talented, creative Regina Ray. And thank you very much for joining us. See you after the break.
Welcome back to Expressions, the show that talks to women about their lives, what they've done, what they're doing, and what they continue to do in this great country of ours, and of course, in this great world of ours. I'm sitting here with our presenter, Neema, and she's going to continue interviewing me. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Yeah.
I teach presentation skills. I teach improv skills.
Yeah, because you
you
just
know, how
did
to
it at the top of your
at
head.
the top of your
Some of
head.
us have to write it and read it and read it.
And it's a skill
Yeah,
and it can
yeah,
be learned. Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Say this, do this, and you know.
At the top of your head.
Back in the day on radio, there was a show, a radio show, where
Yeah.
they say, call in and for 30 seconds, I will give you something and you talk about it. And it's interesting that, and then you win a prize.
Yeah.
In my training and coaching, as I train people on public speaking, one of the first things we start with is I'm going to pick something in the room and talk about it for 30 seconds.
Okay.
You don't have to make sense. You don't have to just talk.
For example, this cup.
And then what will happen most
Yeah.
times, because we're not used to talking, is people will talk for 10 seconds and then they'll stop.
And
And I'm saying it doesn't have to make sense. Just talk.
Just say
because what you're
anything.
doing is you're training your brain to think
Really
off
fast,
the cuff.
yeah.
Not even fast, because you can talk and pause, but to think. And we're not used to that.
Yeah.
So if you can talk about a cup for 30 seconds, I say you start when I say start and stop when I say stop. Most people stop at 30 at
10
15
seconds.
seconds.
I know.
at okay, I'm done. I have nothing else to say.
I know.
And the
Yeah.
worst is when you say talk about yourself.
Oh yes, and that's what you're asked every time you go on an interview. You're told,
Yes.
tell me about yourself. You've been living with
Yes.
yourself all this time, and you can't talk about yourself.
And the reason for
Yeah.
that, from a psychological point of view, is we're not comfortable with us.
Oh,
We're not comfortable with
that
ourselves.
is
We're
why.
not comfortable talking about ourselves. And I think in Kenya, we've been socialized not to talk about ourselves, to just, sit pretty and be seen and not heard. And
We don't even ask
not
questions.
really bring up our
Yeah.
skills and stuff like that. And some people like Sheryl Sandberg in the book Lean In, where she talks about women, work, and the will to lead, talks about how sometimes we hold ourselves back, especially as women, because we don't put ourselves on a platform.
Yeah.
Okay, ask me another question.
Anyway, we're a very conservative society, so we're all quiet.
Well, we're getting out
all-
there. No, I don't think
Oh,
we're
yeah?
that conservative.
We're not. Oh, really?
I'm saying in general we were socialized.
Yeah.
Especially
I think it's
depending on
also
when you
our
were born.
schooling system. It
Yeah.
teaches you to be calm, because I think there's an analogy. When you start nursery, you're all loud and you're all shouting. Then you go to class 1, you're told keep quiet. We're writing noisemakers.
Stop it.
Yeah, class 2.
we train ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
all
So
about
by the
training.
time you're in class 8, you're very locked in, that you now have to teach yourself to come out.
Yes.
To bring yourself out, which is
And then, of course, when you talk about personalities and temperaments, you find that if you are of a certain temperament, more extroverted, you'll find that that person, even though they are being closed
suppressed,
in
they'll
school,
still come out.
there are still those that like will be called the noisemakers and troublemakers, not because they are, but because they have this need to express themselves in a different way.
Yeah.
And so it's just understanding who it is you're dealing with in terms of
and they're always in the noisemaker list and stuff. Okay, so you also do speech training, and it's what you're saying, public speaking as well. And what is the main in your training? What is the main challenge in terms of how we express ourselves as as people, and especially women, because this is a women's show? So I mean, what are some of the challenges you face?
Well, okay. Challenges I face,
or even women in general,
speak. For people who want to speak in public, or even just speak one-on-one, or even not speak at all with words. I'm using those very deliberately. One of the things that we need to realize as communicators, I'll use the word communicators, is a communication comes under an umbrella, I will choose, of 3 V's: verbal, vocal, and visual. And one of the things that people tend to think most when they're communicating is that what I say with my words, which is the verbal V, constitutes for the bulk of the communication signals that I send. Most people, if you ask, if I say something, the communication signals that I'm sending, does it come stronger from my words? Words being this is how I go, or what I'm doing, or does it come more from how I say it, which is the vocal? My tone, my intonation, my volume, that is the vocal. Or does it come more from visual? Visual is what we call non-verbal communication. Does it come from how I look, how I'm dressed, how I carry myself, which is deportment, or what my facial expression is saying, or what my hands are saying? Most people will say majority of the communication signals come from verbal.
Oh, is it verbal?
And it's not.
Okay.
Studies have been done, and I can't remember which professor in which university. So don't quote me. Don't tell anyone, okay?
Okay.
Studies have been done that only 7% of the communication signals that we send are verbal.
Everything else
as
is,
in what I say. About 36% are vocal. It means how I say it. Am I loud? Am I strong? Am I soft? Am I pitchy? Am I nasal? About 36% comes from that.
Yeah.
And then the bulk of the communication signals we as human beings send, a whopping 58%, okay, come from non-verbal.
I know.
Visual.
Yeah.
And that, I would say, is one of the big things that we do not know as communicators.
And we don't work on them.
And we don't work on them.
We just work on what we're going to say.
So we work on, are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. I've said it in a way that suggests that I'm not fine. My visual, my body language is suggesting I'm not fine. My words, 7% of what I'm saying is saying I'm fine, but there's so many different ways to say that. And so if we would learn as communicators to say more with our non-verbal and our vocal than with our verbal, we would get further and we'd be more effective communicators. See, I'm talking with my hands. You are responding with your nodding and your facial expression and the way you're sitting, your deportment, the way you're carrying yourself. If we would understand that non-verbal is such a powerful tool in how we communicate, whether in public speaking, or on one-on-one, we would truly send messages that we mean to send and not messages we don't mean to send. There's a quotation that I tend to quote every time I'm doing a session. I say, every time someone sees you, you are being judged.
24/7.
Every time someone sees you, you are being judged. Whether it's for a job, whether it's for a friendship, or whether it's for a life partner, your image / behavior, and here I'm talking about a visual image, sends loud and clear messages, even when you are silent. What message is your image sending? That's the question every time you wake up in the morning. Before you get dressed, you need to ask yourself, what message is the image that I have? What message do I want to send? Many of us send messages that are inadvertent. Many of us send messages that we don't mean to send.
So you have to be very deliberate when you're deciding
Cognizant,
what do I...
deliberate, keen. We have to be all of those when we are communicating. And that's why I don't call it specifically public speaking, although it comes under that category. So if you could recognize the 3 V's in our communication, that would be the first step to being an effective communicator.
So you could tell I'm pretty nervous when I was speaking to you earlier.
I could, and I coupled the psychology. I read you. I read you completely. I read you, and that's okay. And that's okay, because here's the other part of it that a lot of people don't know in public speaking, is that there's a physiological part to doing anything that is different or extraordinary. Physiological by way of the way you breathe. When you're breathing or your heart beats, it's physiological. It's your body doing something, right? And so what we call nerves is also a physiological response. Public speakers don't know that.
Oh, really?
So people always used to ask me when I was doing my show, I did it for 6 years, and we shot back-to-back 5 shows in one day, and we had different audiences for each show, and each and every time I got out at the wings, I was nervous.
Oh, you were?
I had butterflies.
You had butterflies?
I was sweating. I was palpitating, and all these things. And when I say that to someone, they're like, "You,
I know,
you get nervous," and I'm like, H, yeah.
You
I got
always
nervous.
had poise every time you came.
I may have had that.
Yeah,
but because doing anything different or extraordinary, if we understand as athletes, as presenters, as singers and dancers, that performance in and of itself will definitely call for some physiological response on your side, the nerves are part of it, because then nerves are a manifestation of what is happening with you.
So you've done so many things, and we've watched you on screen and this personal development coach as well, and you've been very impressive. Like, I used to watch Makutano Junction because you're in it, and this book, you said it took you 5 years to do it.
From inception of the idea. This is a trivia book, a family trivia book of usual and unusual facts that I released in the year 2000. And prior to that, I was just putting it together, formulating it, getting an idea of how I wanted it to look, the visual. It's a self-published book. I contracted the artists and the layout designers to help me to package it, but it is really, as a creative, a work in progress, and I really enjoyed the process. And why? Because I love fun and games. I love fun and games. I love trivia. I love board games and all sorts of stuff. And I realized that our shops did not have books, trivia books that were based on some of our local, even African. We just had trivia books that were based on facts of the rest of the world. So when I wrote this book, I wrote it in the reverse. Most of the questions are local and Pan-African based, but then there's also questions in there that the average person from any other part of the world would find enjoyable and would be able to answer some of the questions, because it's strong. It has an international appeal.
Oh, it has an international appeal.
You can give it to an international person, and they would find joy in it. Like, what is? I see a question over here. I see a pram, and it asks, for example, what is? Okay, I remember the question. What is the long form of pram? You know, we know pram. But most of, and then if you know the answer. Most people don't know. It's perambulator.
Oh, is it? I was hoping you wouldn't ask.
Short form for perambulator. And perambulate, just like ambulance, is to move. Perambulate.
Really?
Like when you see a child, you see them trying to move. So the expression would be, my child is perambulating, or something like that.
Oh, that would be long to say, though.
Well,
My child is perambulating.
but not impossible, and it would help color your language.
Yeah, it will help color your language. So amongst, I think the fact that you do so many things, it's almost easier to ask you, what do you not do?
A whole bunch. A lot.
Sports?
No, I was a sports person. I was an athlete when I was in high school. I was on the hockey team.
Oh,
We played a couple. And netball. We did netball. I was also a short distance sprinter. 100 meters, 200 meters, and relay. So
You're
I
very,
considered
very
myself
active.
an athlete.
I think you probably won the Loreto Award for outstanding.
No, I don't think so. No, I didn't win any
Not
awards.
Because you're just out there doing everything.
I just love doing what I do.
Yeah.
I just love doing what I do.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about what I do, and I think in my mind it's important to approach the things that you do with passion.
You pour your whole
And
heart into
so
it.
part of my vision is, part of it is to live life significantly with passion and enthusiasm. So I always say, if I'm doing anything, I better enjoy it. Otherwise, I will not be there for too long.
I know, right?
I might be there for a short spell, but not too long.
Because a lot of people are stuck in jobs they
I
hate,
think so.
complaining every Monday. Oh, I hate Monday. You know, yeah.
But when we talk about being stuck in jobs we hate, it's that we have chosen to be there because it is giving us something that we don't want to give up.
Oh, yeah.
So
And
whenever
usually
we are
it's
somewhere,
money,
and it's
right?
usually
Yeah,
money or the
yeah.
mortgage or a lifestyle that would, I would not have if I got out of this dead-end job. And so you always have to ask yourself, are we really stuck, or by default, or we choose to be stuck because there's something else that we don't want to give up?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And I always ask every guest who's here, if you were to do anything else other than what you're doing now, what would that be?
If I were to do anything else, well, let me put it this way. I have a bucket list of things,
Oh, you
that
do?
I would like to do.
This year, how many
Well,
things?
not particularly this year. You think of the things that you'd want to do, and that's what I call a bucket list. But if you phrase it that way, if I were to do anything else that, besides doing what I'm doing, I don't think that there's anything that I would do. But definitely we have things that we desire to do before
Okay, maybe you
the
can
good Lord
take us
calls
through
us.
your
More
bucket
travel.
list.
I'd love
Oh,
to
more
travel
travel.
more. I'd love to
Yeah.
travel more. I've traveled, considerably, but one can never travel enough.
I know.
Because it's like reading. I like to read. I have a book club, and they say that the person who has not traveled, especially in this day and age, even if you're traveling from town to town within your own country,
Yeah,
the person who has not traveled, it's like reading one page in a book. Yes. So traveling just exposes you to a whole nother way of life. And it exposes you to culture and people and attitudes. And it also helps you appreciate what you have.
Actually, yeah.
So traveling more is definitely something that I would want to do more of. If I could be paid to travel, like go to this country or that country or
Yeah.
this town or that town and talk about something, et cetera,
yeah.
yeah,
You
that would
would.
work for me.
I know.
Because then I get paid to do what I love.
I know,
Yes.
yeah.
And that's
I
always
would
been my
love to be
mantra.
a travel consultant. So you just
See,
travel
there you
and
go.
recommend and
Yeah.
blog about it.
Yeah.
What else is in your bucket list?
Spending more quality time with those that are close to me. You've heard it said many a time that those people who find themselves on their deathbed and have a chance to speak, always say, I wish I spent more time with those people who are close to me. And so making money is not the thing that I would want to do more of, although I wouldn't mind making more money now.
Yeah.
But spending quality time, and quality time is engaging and sitting and laughing and traveling and doing fun things and sometimes even sitting in silence but having companions to do that with, companionship, is something that I really value. So make lasting relationships and keep the ones that I have that are worth keeping. My bucket list is also, and it has been, to shed off a lot of the clutter in my life.
Yes,
And not just clutter by way of things, which is, that is a challenge in and of itself. There's a lot of clothes and a lot of things that we collect over the
I was
years.
told it leads to depression.
It leads to depression and all that kind of stuff. So shedding clutter, but also emotional and psychological clutter. You know, the baggage that we hold, you know, the grudges that we hold against this person for doing this and that and whatever. Or, you know, a lot of that is clutter in the mind.
Yeah.
And that holds us back. And the thing that I would want to do more of is publish more. I would like to write more and publish more. I have a lot of unfinished manuscripts, songs, short stories, books that are just on my laptop, and it is something that I want to put more effort into, so that the creative artist part of me comes out, and I have something of a legacy to leave, even when I leave this earth.
Okay, so it will be good to share. I mean, in things like the things that you're doing, personal development, or just stories, you know, your story, your biography, perhaps.
I have so many stories, kids' stories, stories about life, how-to stories. I have this magazine that I've created, a how-to guide on how to do a variety of things, because Martha Stewart is one of my idols, and Martha Stewart had made homemaking fun and interesting and lucrative, and but she also comes from a modeling background. I don't know if you're aware, and even though you know her as Martha Stewart Living and the show that she does, she's a multi-million-dollar mogul. Even when she went into prison, she still made money. So I see myself, I see a lot of Martha in me, and me in Martha. She, you know, just by her creativity, she likes using her hands. And I like being in soil, or whipping up a dish, or cooking up a new recipe, or writing. You know, I'm a rounded person in that regard. And she's the closest person that I can think of that is much like me. Yes.
Okay, and I've seen you've already begun your journey.
I've begun the journey. But it's
so to many more.
I'm still in the process of becoming. I'm still in the process of becoming.
I know. We never really stop growing. I told you, don't stop learning. Anyway, now if you could share to a lot of girls, a lot of women who are looking up to you as a model, me included. That's why I was pretty nervous earlier. But what would you say, you know, about life, the concept of life in general? What is it that drives you? What is it that, you know, they can carry today from this interview after watching you?
You've asked me many questions.
Oh, I know, right?
So let me pick one. I don't know which one to answer.
I can talk on and on. Okay,
but the last tail end of your question was, what do you think audience can pick up? I think depending on where someone is in their life when they watch this interview, they'll pick different things. If somebody is in the space where they're interested in writing, they'll be more keen on what we discussed about writing. If someone is in the space of improving their public speaking, then what we talked about, the nervousness and the 3 V's, will come out stronger. If someone is sitting there in their living room in the space of, oh, I haven't seen Regina in an interview before, they'll just be watching the screen.
They're like, oh, she's so cool.
Well, I don't know whether they'll say she's so cool.
They will.
So depending on where someone is, from what space somebody's watching, if it's about publishing, they might think, well, how did you publish a book? And how can I get your contact? Or if it's about the book club. So I'm not quite sure what the viewer will take away from this interview. But it is my hope that they'll take something that is positive.
Okay, I know.
Yes. And if I was to have a message about my view of life, There are so many cliches out there about life and what it is and what
What it
makes
ought
life
to
and
be.
wholesome.
Yeah.
You know, I hesitate to use the word ought because that is right there in the category of should,
Yeah, must.
must, and in psychology we call it masturbatory language. Get it right, masturbatory, not the other word. And you see, we come into life with this idea of I must, I ought, I should,
I
etc.,
know.
etc. And what gets many of us down
Frustrated
and
is because-
frustrated
yeah.
is that we have not done what the world's view of what we ought to, should do, must do. And then when we fall short of other people's expectations, we feel
Then-
frustrated and we feel down. So I hesitate to use the word ought.
Yeah, okay.
In my view, I am about being. We're called human beings for a reason. We're not called human doings or sayings or ought-toings. We're called human beings.
Yeah.
So for me, life is about being. And what does it take to be who I am?
Yeah.
Who I am. I can only talk about myself because my view about life comes from my reality. Your view about life comes from your reality and your perspective. So I think if more of us took time to look into ourselves and find out what it is that is driving us, we have the power to continue doing that which works for us at that time. And we also have the power to change and adjust that which does not work
For
at
us.
the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yes, I
okay.
think I could leave it at that.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I know we haven't done a session. I wanted you to teach me how to sit.
But we have done a
proper.
session.
Yeah?
We
Oh,
just
we have
haven't
done a
talked
session.
about
We haven't talked about how I should sit
your
properly.
deportment, and I won't use should
Yeah?
again.
Oh,
But we've talked about something.
Yeah, we have
You
talked about-
review the tape, and I'm sure you'll pick up. What did you
Yes.
pick up? Let me throw the interview
Oh
back to
my
you just
God.
before we close. What did you take? What's your take home from this session?
a lot actually, about life, about energy, about just doing
Pick one.
one.
I'm putting you on the spot.
I know.
That's what we do as coaches.
I know.
We put you on the spot. So,
Oh, really?
So what one thing is your take home from this
I
interview?
like what you've just said right now. I think I'm going to carry it with me. About not living according to what is expected. Okay, not really define, but don't judge yourself or condemn yourself to a particular living, but just live, just be,
Just
know.
be.
Yeah,
Just
just be. And
Just be.
yeah, I wanted to say, what does it take to be? Did
Oh,
you
a lot.
Yeah, that's what
It takes experience. Experience is a good teacher.
I wish I could sing in that.
Takes someone like me to know.
Oh, it's really been amazing hanging out.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
and
you
thank
so
you for inviting me.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for coming. I didn't believe
Yeah, I
it.
don't normally do interviews, so wow, it's
Oh.
a first for.
Oh,
you know,
yay.
it's a first for a long time. I
A
haven't
long
done an interview for a
time.
very,
Oh,
very
but
long
thank
time.
you very much for
Yeah,
coming.
it's been my pleasure.
Yeah, and I've
Yes.
learned quite a lot. I
Yeah.
should write a book as well.
You should. I'll use should right there.
Yeah,
you
I
should.
should.
You
Yeah,
ought.
I
you
must.
must.
Thank you very much for joining us. We've been having the beautiful and fascinating Regina Ray. It's really, really, really been a pleasure. I started off nervous, but
15 seconds are gone.
I know. Oh yeah, an hour is gone. 30 minutes is gone. But it's really, really been great to hang out with Regina, and we keep hanging out with more such amazing women here at Expression. Join us every week. I am your host, Esther Neema. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a lovely day.